Here with Tyler Hawkins today. How you doing, man? How's it going?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm awesome. First, I want to start off
Yeah,
by congratulating you on winning the WWA title.
dude, thank you very much. If I was more prepared, I'd have the belt with me right now.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I was
I
going
was,
to
I,
ask if
I,
you,
I should have went and grabbed it, but
it's all right.
the time hit me, and I was like, oh, got to get on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what you always hear the old stories of like. I think when the Giant won in WCW, they always told him to carry it around with him to airports and stuff like that. Is that
Oh yeah,
I was gonna ask you, like, do
uh,
you carry it around for a little bit? Do you do you let everybody see that you're
as
the champ?
as much as I want to, that thing is heavy.
Yeah.
And that thing is a load to carry around. As cool as it would be to carry it, getting my groceries and picking up my milk and stuff.
Yeah.
It's also a little, sometimes it's a little awkward
And it's
around.
you've been in wrestling 9 years, maybe? Is that what it is?
Nine, 9 years. It was 9 years this month, actually.
And is this I know it's not your first title, but is this your first, I don't want to say major title because I think all of them are important in their certain way. Is this kind of
Yeah.
I guess is this like the biggest title you've won so far?
Yeah. This is so I've been like national champion several times, tag team champion several times, but this is the first time I've actually held the belt that is representing like has the company name on it.
Yeah.
So it's like yeah, I mean, it's true. It does mean more because it is the WWA heavyweight title. It's the main title, and it's a lot um, I put a lot of pressure on myself now to hold it and carry it.
Yeah, and I've seen you around for a while. I take my son to WWA shows when I used to be at the Coliseum, and we've been
Yeah.
following WWA for I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years, somewhere there. So we've seen you pretty much grow, like
I was
from
gonna say that's more than half my career right there.
right. Yeah, I mean, I can
Yeah.
remember watching you and coming out, and then kind of seeing you move up the card and all that stuff. I mean, it has to be, especially winning the title, kind of that I've done it. I'm accomplishing my goals. I'm living my dream, and which any title for any company is pretty big. It's a big deal. So I mean,
Yeah. No, it's true. Like it's been a long time coming. And it's nothing that I haven't. It's not like because some people have asked me before, be like, "Oh, why just now?" I'm just like, it's not that I haven't wanted the title before. I've always wanted it since I started. But sometimes it's just the right timing, the right progression, and like how I am in like performing and everything like that. It just happened to all work out.
and that's what you wanted at the Kentucky's biggest battle royal,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
think that's a great kind of story angle, however you want to call it, because it happens every year with WWE. It's almost like a reset in a sense of I don't want to say it's a WrestleMania kind of deal, but it's like that's when there could be a new champion tonight, and you don't really know who it's going to be.
No, it's true. Like it is. It is. I mean, you said it's like a WrestleMania moment. Because it's the one of the biggest events that kicks off the whole year. Um, it's for the but we never know how many people are going to be in that battle royal. So it could have been 40, 50, 60. It could have been any number of people. So it's always interesting to see how many people show up and whenever a the champion does get eliminated, there's always that static in the room that's like, well, now we have no idea who's going
Right. And that's what we always made sure to go to Indiana's biggest battle royal when you guys had it up there.
to.
Just
Yeah.
kind of, it is such a great show. And I'm sure Kentucky's is as big or even bigger, but it's really cool because you're right. You don't know who's going to win. And it's just people coming in, this person, that person, and it gets down to it. So when you got there, what was it? You and Chris Waddell were the final two. Is that right?
Me and Ray.
You and Ray, sorry. Yeah, got it mixed up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, me and Ray were the final two, and he's tough, man.
yeah. And that's what you kind of walk me through. You've eliminated him, and is it a sigh of relief that it's over? I've won, or is it the adrenaline still going, or are you just so pumped that you are now the champion of WWA?
It's a little bit of all of it, honestly. Because like I came in at 17, so I was somewhere towards the middle of the pack there. So I'm already tired to begin with. But then Ray's tough. Ray's been there before. He's he helped train me when I started, so that was also like kind of a big moment right there. Um, but then eliminating him, I'm not gonna lie, I cried.
Yeah.
I got very emotional because it had been, like 9 years worth of trying to get to that moment and just trying to get there for myself, but for the company too, because it's just like a company that it's pretty much I would almost call it my first home, honestly, every Saturday, showing up to those shows and stuff.
And that's what I mean. You guys are grinding it every week. That is something I've always thought was great about WWA is it's a weekly thing. It's not there's a show here or there might be a show there. You guys are every Saturday going out there putting on a great show. So
Yeah,
now
man, it's crazy.
so now you get to be the face. You're the
Yeah,
champ, you know? So like every
yeah,
week it's got to be just like super exciting to be like, yeah, I've done it, and now every Saturday everybody's going to know that I'm the champion. Which I know you have a match coming up is this weekend with Josiah.
yeah. The Saturday in Litchfield. It's the first time he's been back in uh, almost a full year, practically. He's been gone for a couple months, but then my first title defense. Um, so I don't know if winning the war I mean the war itself was a big moment, but this is my
Sure.
first title defense, is my first actual singles match as a champion, so there's still a lot of pressure on myself to go out and perform and really prove why I'm the champion now.
Right. And against Josiah, who's a past champion as well.
Yeah,
That's gonna be a great show regardless. You guys are gonna go out there and kill it. I'm sure the fans are gonna
thank
love
you.
it. But now let's talk about what got you into pro wrestling. We all have
Oh man.
those shows, the talent, those
Yeah.
moments that made us fans first. What was that for you?
So some of my earliest wrestling memories was watching it with my cousins in my grandparents' basement, and we would watch some. I don't know, probably it was late '90s, early 2000s. We were all big fans of Rey Mysterio,
Mhm.
um, and some of the stuff he did really captivated me. But then, like the more I started to watch it, like Shawn Michaels, um, all the matches he had around that time was just crazy to see. And then the more I watched it, I really got into Edge and Christian,
Sure.
but I got into Christian more than Edge,
So was that
which
like
seems
around the brood
like
or was that
oh yeah, the Brood kicked off, man.
yeah.
Like coming out of fire, I was like, how are they doing that every
Yeah,
single week? How did they come up? How did they light the floor on fire? And how is there a giant hole in there for three people to fit in?
right. And what's crazy
Like it was
is
one of those things about wrestling that just kind of like really infatuated me.
and that's the brood only lasted like 7 months.
Oh yeah, like
It was like
when like
super
you go
short, but
back
we
and
all
look,
remember it.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
crazy.
it's very memorable. Yeah,
Uh, and that's what I'm glad you said, Edge and Christian. You use the unprettier.
yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, that's going to be one of your favorite finishers or signatures, however you want to call it. But what is like your favorite all time finisher in pro wrestling?
Uh, some of the ones that I've always loved a spear. I
Mm,
always think whenever I see a really good spear and it connects and it just hits right in the gut and both people just drop immediately.
yeah.
Um, That's probably one of my favorites, but I always tell people one of the prettiest moves in wrestling and probably my all-time favorite is the shooting star press.
Man, if you go back, I mean, I know you said you watched Rey Mysterio, but Billy Kidman, I can remember
Oh
watching him in
God, yeah.
WCW. His shooting star was unbelievable.
Oh yeah. I think like if I've wanted to do one for so long, but for some reason my body's just not letting me
Yeah,
complete that.
yeah,
But I think it is like anytime I see like a really good shooting star press that's high up there, it's it brings me back to being a little kid. I'm just like I'm in awe every time I see one, and I
yeah.
think they're like the coolest moves ever.
And that's what I was a big WCW guy, especially with the luchadors growing up. So do you,
Yeah.
and I've talked to a few people about this. I've talked to Jones and uh, Tony Evans and Ray Waddell. Do you go back to see like stuff you can add or things you can? Do you go back and you kind of reach back in wrestling history and kind of like, oh, you know what, that looks really cool and it worked then. I don't see it much today. Maybe I can do it today.
Um, some of the stuff that I want to do today, I don't know how well it would like go over unless we could like find a way to like modernize it a little bit. A lot of that stuff
Mhm.
in the Attitude Era, though,
Yeah.
like I wish more people would come out and big trucks and whether beer trucks, Zambonis, or whatever, like Stone Cold would, like all that stuff was just like so unpredictable.
Right.
Um, and like a lot of the times when they had the added flipping the middle finger and stuff like that, people were going nuts.
Oh yeah. And
Um, now, like it's hard to like now, like I can't go out Saturday and just bring in a truck to the armory in Litchfield and like flip
right.
off Josiah and jump off of it or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But like finding different ways to like be inventive like that is
Mm,
that I mean it's part of the challenge though too of doing things on the way that we do it.
right. And that's, I mean, which you're, since you started watching wrestling in the late 90s, you definitely were like, you're more towards modern than, say, me being a fan of WCW, right? So, like, for me, it'd be watching like
Yeah,
just like watching headlocks or a good abdominal stretch, just those, you know, the kind of, it was just slower. It was definitely slower then. So, like today, it's so fast. Do you think that you could get away with stuff? I mean, you can get away with it, but do you think fans would really receive it like they used to back then?
I think if you plan it right, because like I can go back and I got watch all the WCW stuff now, and I appreciate like all the slow pace and all
Mm,
the way they build matches and stuff like that. And I do wish now like a lot of the stuff was slowed down a little bit so people could appreciate the actual art of wrestling.
yeah,
Because like all the Attitude Era stuff that I grew up with was just it's phenomenal stuff, and it's all just wild and like
yeah,
beat up the boss and flip them off and stuff like that. But like when you get down to it, like the actual art of like performing wrestling moves and two people working together, um, yeah, it's something that I would love to see wrestling go back to.
sure. And I would too. But I mean, I just don't think, I'm not going to say it won't happen. It does in certain promotions. Like if you just, I mean, it's
Yeah,
everywhere now. You can find it anywhere. But I just don't think mainstream wrestling will ever go back to, you know, like a good, I don't know, test of strength. You know, like back in the day when they put their hands up and the heel would always kick them in the gut or slap them in the face. You know, just stuff like that. It's a little goofy, but I just don't think it'll ever go back to that kind of stuff.
I can agree. Like mainstream wrestling has changed to the point to where people get so used to seeing all the fast paced stuff and all the crazy moves and everything that sometimes I think those things can get lost. But I think when they bring them back in little moments during matches, you can kind of like pick out some of the wrestlers will bring back some like just some simple, easy spots and matches and stuff like that that have been kind of lost. And people think it's brand new stuff, but like if you go back and watch stuff from like even the late 90s or 80s and stuff like that. People have been doing it forever.
Right. And I mean, that's what you got. You do have guys, which I mean, it's really tough to, I guess, what I want to say, maybe because I haven't seen enough. It's tough to stay to keep up with like WWA, right? Because it's just I'm not there every week and stuff like that. But you see guys like a Drew Gulak or Chad Gable or even Bobby Roode when he was still going. It's just a different pace to me. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, no, yeah, it's true. Like they work a little bit different of a style than what like some of the mainstream stuff is like doing now, which it's nice to see though, like that there's still some variety between
Yeah,
all the different wrestlers, and there's still something out there for like anybody that likes whatever kind of wrestling. Like if you like that slowed down style, there's going to be somebody in modern day that's doing that slowed down style, like
yeah,
Gunther. Like he's
yes,
very
for
good
sure.
about being like it's like almost old school wrestling, and
Yeah.
it's great.
Uh, which other than WWA, what promotion do you kind of keep your eye on when you're just watching wrestling today?
Um, as much as I would like to watch more wrestling, I'll catch up with WWE and stuff like that, and like
Mm,
any like indie stuff. Like I'll catch some OVW stuff here and there.
yeah.
Um, that's as far as independents go, like OVW, and I'll see some like ROH. I've been trying to watch a little bit more of ROH because they're starting to kind of get like a little bit of a push behind them here recently. Like they're starting to pick back up.
Yeah, and they're in kind of a weird situation since AEW basically bought them, but they're
Yeah,
keeping them separate and they're just kind of moving people back and forth. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's just a very unique situation to be in for ROH. I'm glad they're still going. I'm glad somebody picked them up and said, "Here you go. We're going to give you this and that." But
yeah. Like ROH has been around for a lot longer than some people have thought. Like I remember back in high school, me and Drake Jackson used to sit up late at night and catch ROH on like the local stations and just like see it to back then it was that was like in, even like 2010 and 11 like it seemed
yeah,
like a almost like an unheard of thing to be like, oh, ROH is just his company in St. Louis, and now to see them like partnered with like AEW and stuff is it's kind of crazy.
I think it's great for them. I think it's great for pro wrestling. You talk about watching like a small promotion late, like what you said, like late at night or something like that. I can remember watching ECW, and
Yeah.
it would be this is going to tell you my age real fast. When we used to watch it, you could barely make out the screen. Right, this is old school tube televisions.
Yeah.
It's like it's all wavy and grainy. But man, we sat there on Saturday nights and watched, and we couldn't even see it clearly. But you're right, seeing those small promotions and then seeing them getting popular or getting a resurgence is pretty awesome. It's really great.
Yeah, it almost makes you feel like you're on the inside of things a little bit because you can remember
Yeah,
going
yeah,
back. You know, you can remember back sitting there watching. Be like, I remember when I couldn't even see the wrestlers on TV.
right,
Now
yeah,
now I'm watching them doing all this crazy stuff.
yeah. That's so where what I want to say here. What is what's the pinnacle? What's the height or what's the main goal for you in pro wrestling?
Well, right now, keeping that WWA championship as long as I possibly can.
Yeah,
Anything because I've been with this company for 9 years, and like my ultimate goal would to be with WWA for as long as possible, and hopefully to see them get to the point to where we can be on those local channels late at night kind of thing, just to help that company grow. If anything else comes from it, like if I decided to like travel some more, like I'd be happy to do it.
sure.
Like realistically, like an ROH or something like that would be phenomenal.
Mhm.
Um, Stuff like, but right now it's the WWE is pretty much what I always, so I won't want to say it's what I've always been wanting because when I was a little kid, I had no idea they existed.
Yeah.
But helping, the new crop of talent with WWA come in and training them to hopefully be here for another 9, 10 years like I've been, and I'm still here. Like I want to get to that point to where we can be that local wrestling TV that people watch
Mhm.
late at night that maybe gets a little recognition on like the main thing.
Yeah, and that's an awesome answer. It really, I really didn't
Yeah.
expect it to be that good. That was
Listen,
great.
I didn't either. Believe me.
But yeah, and that's so cool to hear you say that. You want to keep building with WWA. You want to bring in the new guys or the new girls, and you want to get things going and pushed forward in the future. And which, I mean, we kind of talked about how long I've seen you wrestle with WWA. The show
Yeah.
itself has grown exponentially in those years.
Oh, yeah. Like even from like whenever I first started, our whole entryway was just a couple like tripod stands with some raggedy banners on them.
Mhm.
So now we have a full scaffold set and the full lights, like everything going on, and like we have two trailers that are full, and we're probably going to have bigger ones.
And that's what I think people I don't want to say a misconception, but I think that people don't realize how big WWA really is now and could be in the future. Like you mentioned, a local TV spot. With the way digital channels are today and streaming and stuff like that, that should be obtainable. I don't think that's too far out of your guys' reach. Just because you would get viewers, people would want to see it. It's not a nostalgia thing, but it's a really cool thing to see, especially when it's local.
Yeah, and it's also like part of it too is like that community aspect that I like myself because it's like we travel from we have like 5 or 6 different cities we go to, but it's like a little circuit, like almost like in the territory days. But yeah, it's like that whole like community aspect around things too, because like we travel from like different we have like a 5 or 6 different cities that we can like travel to and stuff like that. But then fans will follow us to each city. So it's kind of like a I don't know, the community aspect of it too, and then to see it on TV would be like an ultimate dream, and then it could even reach like further than just like the small like the YouTube channel or like the local people and stuff.
And that's what you talked about, the people that travel with it. I know I've seen the same people when I go to the Evansville show. That was pretty much the closest show for us is the Evansville show at the Coliseum, just because
Yeah.
we live a little further north. So, which is a bummer that the Coliseum isn't going to be
Oh
open or
gosh,
whatever.
yes.
I've talked about that so many times. It's just a great place for pro wrestling. Even if it wasn't used
Oh
for anything else, pro wrestling fits in the
yeah,
Coliseum.
like the history behind it and the fact that we got to wrestle with all the history in that building. Like just when I walk into that building, sometimes it was like, okay, well, Andre the Giant was probably in this building.
Sure.
Jerry Lawler ran this building.
Yeah.
Countless of like Hall of Famers that were like either started in that building or wrestled in that building, and they ran their territories and stuff. And some of like the stories you would hear that came out of that building are just wild.
Right. Right. I mean, there's been so much history there, and like I said, it's such a bummer that it's either I don't know what's going to happen to it, but it just sucks that it's going to close down for a while.
Yeah, hopefully even with renovations and stuff like that, eventually we could either get back into that building, definitely back at Evansville. I know we've been looking for different buildings and stuff because Evansville is a great wrestling city
You know.
anyway.
Right. And that's what when you guys never had a small crowd. Anytime I've ever been to WWA at the Coliseum, it's never been small. It's always sold out. People want to see wrestling up here, and WWA was the one to see, especially in our area. So I can't wait for you guys to get back in Evansville.
Oh, for sure, man. Hopefully sooner than later.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Where can people find you? What kind of social stuff or social media stuff do you have?
I am on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on X. I honestly don't know the last time I got on there. X,
Yeah.
Twitter, whatever it is now. Um, I think on Instagram it's Tyler Hawkins WWA. Facebook Tyler Hawkins. I think X is Tyler Hawkins WWA, maybe 13 at the end of it.
Oh man.
I've been trying to be a little bit more social media conscious here lately. One, especially as being champion, I'm trying to, put myself out there a little bit more for myself and the company. But just in general, I was just like, I have been lacking on social media.
Yeah. But yeah, man, show off that belt, show off the title. Got to take pictures of it every
Yeah,
day. Put
yeah.
it up on Facebook.
Right? I
All
can't
right,
forget it
man.
for interviews or anything like that. Yeah.
I really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, of course. No, thank you for having me.